You see, my journey was never about me. It was never about what I could achieve, or how far I could go, or how much applause I could earn. No, my journey has been one of confrontation, of being brought face to face with who I truly am and who I thought I was. There was a time I thought I was strong, that I could handle life, that discipline and determination alone would carry me through. But life has a way of stripping away our illusions. You will never truly find your purpose until you are broken of your pride. That is where it begins. You will never be focused until everything that distracts you, your reputation, your comfort, your own self-sufficiency is torn away. I learned that my journey wasn't about climbing some mountain of success, but about descending into humility. Because focus does not come from looking inward, it comes from looking higher, beyond yourself. Many people say they want to do great things, but their hearts are divided. They want the light without the fire, the glory without the sacrifice. But you cannot stand firm in this world with one foot in your desires and one foot in your calling. Focus demands surrender. It means saying, I will not be moved, no matter how dark it gets, no matter how lonely it feels. Because when the night is darkest, that's when conviction must burn brightest. I have stumbled, I have failed, I have doubted, but every fall became a lesson in grace. Every setback a reminder that this journey is not sustained by strength, but by faithfulness. The focus I have now was born from loss, from correction, from the long, painful process of realizing that comfort is the enemy of growth. You see, the goal was never to arrive. It was to endure. It was to be shaped, refined, and purified by the fire of hardship. And when I look back, I see that every moment of struggle, every unanswered question, every hidden tear was carving out something far greater than success. It was building character, forging focus, molding purpose. So my journey, my focus, is not about what I have gained, but about what I have learned to give up. Because only when you lose yourself do you truly find what matters. Only when you stop striving for your own glory can you begin to walk in truth. And that, my friends, is the hardest and most beautiful journey of all. True focus and purpose are born through humility and surrender, not pride or self-reliance. This truth runs against everything the world teaches us. From the moment we open our eyes, the world begins whispering that strength is found in independence, that confidence is the same as arrogance, that the one who stands alone stands tallest. We are told that success comes from pushing harder, shouting louder, and climbing faster than everyone else. Yet when the lights dim and the applause fades, a deep emptiness often remains, because what we have been taught to chase is not true purpose. It is a shadow of it, hollow and fragile, built on the unstable foundation of pride. There is a strange irony in the human heart. We think that by taking control of everything, we will finally find peace. We imagine that if we can just manage every detail, if we can perfect every plan, then we will finally feel secure. But the more we grasp for control, the more it slips through our fingers. Pride tells us that we can carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, but humility reveals that we were never meant to. Pride exhausts, humility restores. Pride blinds, humility opens the eyes. Pride isolates, humility draws us closer to truth and to others. To be humble is not to think less of yourself, but to think rightly of yourself, to see yourself as you truly are. It means recognizing that all your talents, your breath, your strength, your very life are not your own. They were given, and because they were given, they can also be taken away. Humility begins with that realization. It starts when you stop pretending to be invincible and begin to acknowledge your dependence, not only on something greater than yourself, but on the people around you who have carried you in ways you never noticed. Pride tells you that asking for help is weakness, but surrender says it is wisdom. The proud heart believes it must always be the savior of its own story, but humility knows that surrender is not defeat, it is freedom. You see, the one who clings to his own strength will eventually collapse under its weight, but the one who yields, who lets go, who learns to rest in something beyond himself, finds a strength that does not fade with exhaustion. When we build our lives on pride, our focus becomes distorted. We start chasing recognition instead of meaning. We begin to measure our worth by comparison, and our identity becomes a performance. Pride forces us to look at others as competitors instead of companions, obstacles instead of fellow travelers. But humility clears the fog. It strips away the obsession with me and opens our eyes to what truly matters. It realigns our focus from asterisk, what can I achieve, asterisk to asterisk, who am I becoming, asterisk, surrender is not passive. It is the most active form of trust. It means choosing to release your grip on things you were never meant to control. It means saying, even if I cannot see the outcome, I will walk faithfully. It takes more courage to surrender than to strive, because striving gives the illusion of power. Surrender strips that illusion away. And only then can purpose begin to take shape, because true purpose is not built on our own ambition, but on our willingness to be molded, guided, and even broken when necessary. There were moments in my own journey where pride whispered, "You can handle this. You don't need anyone. You don't need correction. You're strong enough." And every time I listened, I ended up wandering in circles, tired, frustrated, spiritually empty. It was only when I reached the end of myself that clarity began to dawn. When I finally said, "I can't do this alone," I began to see what focus truly is. Focus isn't the sharpness of mind that comes from ambition. It's the stillness of spirit that comes from surrender. The proud mind is noisy. It constantly demands attention, recognition, validation. It wants to prove something to others, to itself, even to the world. But humility quiets that noise. It teaches you to listen instead of always speaking, to learn instead of always defending, to be guided instead of always leading. And in that quietness, purpose begins to whisper. It's not found in grand gestures or public achievements. It's found in obedience, in consistency, in faithfulness when no one is watching. True focus is not about how hard you can stare at your goals. It's about how willing you are to remove everything that clouds your vision. Pride clutters the soul with self-importance. Humility clears the room for truth to enter, and when the heart is uncluttered, focus becomes simple. You begin to see not 1,000 paths, but one clear direction, the one that aligns with what is good, right, and lasting. Many people fail to find purpose not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they refuse to let go of control. They cling to their own understanding, their own plans, and when things fall apart, they double down, pushing harder, demanding more. They cannot accept that the problem isn't the world. It's their unwillingness to surrender. Pride doesn't just distort focus. It destroys it. It blinds us to what truly matters because it forces us to keep looking inward instead of upward. Humility, on the other hand, is a posture of openness. It admits that we don't have all the answers, that we don't see the full picture. And in that admission, something miraculous happens. We begin to learn. The humble person is teachable. They can grow because they are not afraid to be wrong. They can adapt because they are not trapped in the prison of their own ego. They can listen because they are not obsessed with being heard. And it's through that growth, that learning, that openness, that purpose begins to take root. Surrender is not a one-time act. It's a daily choice. Every day, pride will try to rise again, whispering that you are in control, that you must prove yourself, that your worth is tied to your success. And every day, humility must rise to answer, saying, "No, I am not defined by my performance. I am defined by my faithfulness." You don't need to be perfect to have purpose. You need to be surrendered. Pride wants to build monuments to self. Humility builds altars of gratitude. Pride demands to be noticed. Humility is content to serve in silence. Pride fears failure because it threatens its image. Humility welcomes failure as a teacher, as a purifier, as a path to deeper wisdom. Every time you surrender your pride, something within you grows stronger, not the kind of strength that dominates others, but the kind that endures, that forgives, that remains steadfast even when everything else is shaking. There is a peace that only humility can bring. It is the peace of knowing that you do not have to control everything, that you are part of something bigger, that your worth is not fragile. Pride makes you restless. It keeps you chasing, comparing, performing. But humility anchors you. It lets you focus on what is eternal instead of what is temporary. And when your focus shifts from self to service, from pride to purpose, your entire life begins to change. True purpose does not shout, it whispers. It calls you quietly in the still moments when the noise of ambition fades. It calls you to build, not for your own name, but for something that will outlive you. And the only way to hear that call is through surrender. When you lay down your pride, you make room for meaning. When you stop trying to prove your worth, you finally begin to live it. You will meet people who seem to have everything, success, wealth, admiration, and yet they are haunted by an invisible emptiness. That is the fruit of pride. And you will meet others who live humbly, quietly, often unnoticed, yet they radiate peace and clarity. That is the fruit of surrender. Pride consumes, humility gives. Pride inflates, humility roots. Pride seeks to be the center, humility seeks to serve the center. If you want true focus, you must learn to let go of the illusion that you are the master of your own destiny. You have influence, yes. You have choice, yes. But you do not have sovereignty. The sooner you accept that, the freer you become. Pride fights for control. Humility finds contentment in obedience. Pride resists the truth. Humility embraces it, even when it hurts. And the paradox is this: the more you surrender, the more focused you become. The less you rely on yourself, the more effective you become, because focus born of humility is not scattered by fear or doubt. It is steady, anchored, and clear. When you walk in humility, your priorities change. You stop asking, "How far can I go?" and start asking, "How faithful can I be?" You stop seeking applause and start seeking impact. You stop competing and start collaborating. Humility teaches you to value process over recognition, progress over perfection, purpose over performance. It simplifies your heart, it declutters your soul, and it gives you a focus that no storm can shake. In the end, the proud man may build faster, but the humble man builds stronger. The proud man may appear to rise higher, but his foundation is sand. The humble man may move slowly, but his foundation is rock. And when the storms of life come, and they will, the proud will fall, and the humble will stand. That is why true focus and purpose cannot be born from pride or self-reliance. They can only be born from humility and surrender, because only humility can see clearly, and only surrender can endure faithfully. Endurance through struggle refines character and reveals what truly matters. There is no shortcut to this truth, no way to bypass the grinding and painful lessons that life demands. The world teaches us to avoid hardship, to seek comfort, to run from difficulty, but reality is far less forgiving. Every person who has grown into strength, wisdom, or depth has done so through confrontation with trials. Struggle is not a punishment, it is a furnace. It burns away the superficial, the fleeting, and the false, leaving only what is genuine and enduring. To understand the value of endurance, we must first understand what struggle does to the soul. Struggle exposes the hidden parts of ourselves. It unmasks the pride, the fear, the selfishness, and the vanity that lie beneath our daily personas. When life is easy, it is easy to deceive ourselves. It is easy to tell ourselves that we are patient, that we are strong, that we are faithful, when all we are doing is coasting in comfort. But when difficulty strikes, everything changes. Our weaknesses rise to the surface, demanding attention. Our strengths are tested, often stretched beyond what we thought was possible. And in those moments, we are given a choice: to yield to despair, to anger, to bitterness, or to rise through it with determination and humility. Endurance is not merely passive resistance, it is active perseverance. It is waking each day and continuing the fight, even when the body is tired, even when the heart is heavy, even when the mind whispers that giving up is the easiest path. Endurance requires courage, for the path is never easy. It requires faith, for the outcome is rarely visible. And it requires humility, for one quickly realizes that strength alone is insufficient to navigate life's storms. Through endurance, character is formed. It is refined not in the absence of pain, but in the presence of it. Consider the way a blacksmith forges steel. The raw metal is dull, imperfect, and brittle. It is subjected to fire, to hammering, to repeated testing. Each strike, each moment of heat, reshapes it. It is not destroyed, but purified. So it is with human character. Struggle hammers away arrogance, burns away entitlement, and tests the resilience of the soul. Those who refuse the fire remain untested and fragile. Those who embrace it, who endure, emerge stronger, sharper, more resilient. They understand the weight of life because they have carried it, and their perspective is no longer superficial. Endurance also reveals what truly matters. In the midst of trial, the trivial falls away. The things we thought indispensable, the approval of others, the comfort of routine, the pursuit of fleeting pleasure become insignificant. What remains are the essentials: integrity, faithfulness, love, compassion, honesty, and courage. Struggle forces us to confront what is eternal, what has real value, and what is merely ephemeral. When one has faced loss, pain, and disappointment, one begins to see the world differently. Priorities shift. Life is no longer measured by accumulation or recognition, but by depth and authenticity. Pain, when endured rightly, becomes a teacher. It instructs us in patience, perseverance, and perspective. We learn that not every obstacle is to be overcome immediately, and not every suffering is to be avoided. There is wisdom in waiting, in trusting the process, in understanding that endurance is itself a form of victory. The mind that perseveres through difficulty becomes disciplined, the heart that withstands trial becomes tender, and the soul that survives hardship becomes mature. Endurance is not the absence of struggle, it is the transformation that occurs within struggle. Many people flee from struggle because it is uncomfortable, frightening, or humiliating. They seek quick fixes, easy answers, and paths of least resistance. But in doing so, they deprive themselves of growth. They avoid the lessons that can only be learned in the crucible of trial. True character is invisible in times of comfort. It is forged in the storm. The world's temptations, instant gratification, superficial success, easy admiration, cannot teach endurance for they demand nothing. Only adversity, repeated and relentless, shapes the inner life. Endurance also cultivates perspective. When one has struggled, one understands the struggles of others. Empathy grows out of experience. Compassion is born in the trenches of life, where one recognizes pain not as abstract, but as intimately known. The person who has never suffered may have knowledge, but they lack understanding. Struggle opens the eyes to reality, the fragility of life, the transience of worldly gains, the importance of faith, loyalty, and love. Character is refined when we endure not just for ourselves, but for others. The trials that seem unbearable when faced alone are often bearable when seen as shared burdens or opportunities to serve. Struggle also tests our integrity. It exposes whether we will act rightly when the consequences are difficult or when the path is lonely. Many declare principles in times of ease, but few live them in times of trial. Endurance demands fidelity to truth, even when falsehood seems easier. It demands honesty, even when lies would protect pride or comfort. And it demands courage, even when fear tempts surrender. Those who endure with integrity emerge not just stronger, but honorable, respected, and trusted. They have been purified in the fire and have not been consumed. The psychological and spiritual dimension of endurance is equally profound. Adversity humbles the mind and softens the heart. It teaches dependence on forces beyond oneself, whether that is God, community, or the natural order of life. In recognizing our limits, we find freedom from illusions of omnipotence. Pride is stripped away. Self-reliance, when placed above everything else, crumbles. Endurance teaches that life is not a game of domination or control, but a journey of faith, patience, and perseverance. It reshapes ambition, redefines success, and reorients the soul toward what is lasting. History is filled with examples of individuals whose character was refined through suffering. Leaders, thinkers, artists, and ordinary people have all faced tremendous hardships that revealed their true essence. Those who endure do not simply survive, they are transformed. They carry scars not as shame, but as evidence of lessons learned. They gain insight into the fragility of human endeavor and the necessity of humility. The fire of struggle teaches that life's meaning is rarely found in comfort, but in the faithful navigation of difficulty. Endurance also strengthens resilience, the ability to recover, adapt, and continue. Life's hardships are not always sequential or predictable. One trial may be followed by another, testing limits and patience. The person who has endured before learns not to despair, for they have discovered inner reserves of strength previously unknown. Each challenge endured becomes a marker of growth. Each obstacle overcome is proof that character can withstand pressure. And through this cycle, the individual becomes increasingly capable of discerning what matters most, for trivial distractions no longer hold sway over the heart. There is also a profound joy in endurance, though it is often overlooked. It is a quiet, deep satisfaction that comes not from ease, but from surviving difficulty with grace and integrity. It is the recognition that life has been met fully, that suffering has been faced honestly, and that nothing superficial has been allowed to dominate. Endurance transforms suffering from a curse into a crucible, where the soul is purified, perspective is clarified, and priorities are recalibrated. Furthermore, struggle fosters gratitude. When one has known hardship, the ordinary blessings of life are no longer overlooked. Simple moments of peace, rest, connection, and beauty take on new meaning. Gratitude arises not from abundance alone, but from survival, growth, and the recognition of what is truly valuable. Endurance teaches that wealth, comfort, and recognition are transient, but character, faithfulness, love, and courage endure. Endurance through struggle also cultivates patience and wisdom. The impatient seek immediate results, avoiding difficulty, yet wisdom is rarely gained in haste. The person who endures knows that growth is incremental, that lessons unfold over time, and that sudden success is often hollow. Patience nurtured in trial fosters discernment, allowing one to navigate life with clarity and insight. Wisdom, like character, is refined in the furnace of difficulty and emerges stronger when tested repeatedly. Moreover, struggle teaches the necessity of surrender. We are reminded that not everything is under our control. Plans may fail, circumstances may overwhelm, and efforts may yield less than hoped. Endurance requires accepting these realities without surrendering the pursuit of what is good, right, and just. It teaches resilience not in domination, but in adaptation and trust. We are shaped not by the absence of challenge, but by our response to it. The social dimension of endurance is equally important. Difficulties foster empathy, deepen relationships, and teach service. Those who have suffered can offer comfort, guidance, and encouragement to others. They can recognize pain and respond with understanding, not judgment. Endurance transforms the individual from a solitary struggler into a source of support, strength, and inspiration for others. In this way, character and perspective are not only personal victories, they ripple outward, impacting the community, family, and society. Endurance through struggle is also intimately connected with faith. For those who believe in a higher purpose, trials serve as reminders of dependence on something greater than oneself. They test trust, reinforce commitment, and clarify values. Even when the path is unclear, enduring faithfully cultivates a deep, abiding confidence that the journey has meaning beyond immediate comprehension. Struggle becomes a teacher of trust, a guide to humility, and a mirror reflecting what is eternal. The human spirit, when tested, often surprises itself. We discover capacities we never knew we possessed: courage in fear, patience in delay, compassion in suffering, perseverance in exhaustion. These discoveries are not theoretical. They are forged through lived experience. Character is proven not by words, but by actions under pressure. It is refined in moments when giving up seems easier than continuing. And each victory, no matter how small, illuminates what truly matters: integrity, love, faithfulness, service, and the courage to endure. Finally, struggle transforms priorities. The trivial fades, the essential rises. Material success, superficial recognition, and fleeting pleasure lose their appeal when weighed against resilience, integrity, compassion, and meaning. Endurance reveals the true nature of life, that what is temporary is insignificant, but what is enduring. Character, wisdom, love, faith is priceless. Through struggle, the soul is refined, the heart is clarified, and the vision is sharpened. Endurance is both the teacher and the test, the furnace and the refining instrument, revealing what truly matters while shaping the one who survives it.